Community connections, CKMS. Local sounds, thoughts, passions, and success. Celebrate local, your neighbor's got a story to tell. Community connections, CKMS.
Happy Friday, Waterloo Region. You're listening to CKMS Community Connections for Friday, the 10th. This is Monday. Happy Monday, Waterloo Region.
Happy Monday.
This is CKMS Community Connections for Monday, the 10th of November, 2025. My name is Bob Jonkman. In the studio with me is Cameron Ty from Volunteer Waterloo Region.
Yeah, hi, I'm Cameron Ty. I'm the Communications Specialist for Volunteer Waterloo Region, and thank you for having me in the studio today.
You're welcome. Get into a proper interview in just a few minutes. Going to start off with a tune by The White House, new album. I'm not quite sure what the title here is. Crossroads by The White House.
Trust the ones you love. Pay attention to the signs, cause you're becoming to join the club. I've seen this kind before, and I've been taken for a ride. I'm gonna take it all back tonight. I'm gonna fight for my life, yo, I'm gonna survive. So maybe at the crossroads. Maybe at the crossroads. Maybe at the crossroads. Trust the ones you love. Pay attention to the signs, cause you're becoming to join the club. I've seen this kind before, and I've been taken for a ride. I'm gonna take it all back tonight. I'm gonna fight for my life, yo, I'm gonna survive. So maybe at the crossroads. Maybe at the crossroads. Maybe at the crossroads.
That's The White House, Meet Me at the Crossroads. A new single that he's just released, White House from Cambridge. Hope to have him in the studio reasonably soon. Chris, if you're listening, send me an email. In the studio with me is Cameron Ty. Cameron, welcome to CKMS Community Connections.
Well, thank you very much for having me. It's great to be here on the radio with a great community local radio station, volunteer run, and just driven to get the word out there.
Volunteer run is important to you because you're with Volunteer Waterloo Region.
Absolutely. I mean, volunteers are really the heart of the community and the heart of the spirit of not just here in Waterloo Region, but Canada overall. I mean, there's just this huge driving force that it's underutilized at times, but also something that we know is struggling in the current community. So very near and dear to my heart.
Yeah, I've noticed Radio Waterloo being an entirely volunteer station that a lot of the volunteerism has dropped off. I don't know if that was the pandemic or if it's just socioeconomic issues, but volunteerism isn't where it used to be.
No, that's absolutely true. I mean, when you look at it, there's a lot of reports that come out. We had one report in 2018 and one recent one in 2023. It used to be that volunteers gave billions upon billions of hours, and we've seen a very stark drop on that, almost 28%. So, like, that's a huge drop nationally. It's the equivalent of, I think, a couple thousand full-time employment hours. So, if you think about just how much that is giving just to the sector as a whole, all the services that we really rely upon just to keep everything running, not just locally, but across the nation. It's a very big deal, and you can see that in the StatsCan report on charitable giving and volunteering as well.
Okay, so charitable giving follows the volunteer curve, does it?
It's a little more interesting in the charitable giving. So in the volunteer curve, what we're noticing right now is that it's really hard to get people engaged. It used to be that the youth were the people who were the most engaged population-wise, so the highest number of youth were giving a lot of hours, but the older generations were giving more hours. So, like, there might be, like, hundreds of youth out giving, and they'd be giving a little bit of time every now and then, but there were significantly less of these older adults who were giving hundreds of hours.
Okay.
So, like, there was that really big divide.
So the pool goes down, but the amount of volunteerism goes up within that pool.
Essentially, yeah. But now what we're noticing is while the youth has somewhat maintained at a reasonable level, the older adults, a lot of them are aging out. They're not able to commit the number of hours. The working class, they're under a lot of these societal pressures, like you mentioned. It's harder for them to be able to give their time as freely.
Yeah.
So we're noticing that notable cutback in a lot of these services. And that's really just one of these big struggles for volunteerism right now. Compared to giving, where one of the cool things that I noticed, because I get to look at all these stats, is the giving that has been going out has remained astonishingly the same, but there's less donors. So it's only dropped by like 2 to 3%, but there's less number of donors giving. So we're seeing a lot more pressure being put on those high donors that are out there.
Okay, so fewer donors, but higher giving donors.
Exactly. So
Okay.
that's kind of what the trend's looking like in giving.
Okay. How long has that trend been going on?
I can tell you that volunteerism hasn't necessarily recovered since the pandemic. It was dropping slightly going into the pandemic. Obviously, cost of living is always a huge issue, and being able to provide for your family cuts back on the amount of time you're doing. But just overall, it's just happening. I can't give you an accurate timeline of like this is the inflection point. I can tell you the pandemic was a huge hit because as soon as you tell people you're not allowed to go out, the older adult population is the highest at risk, you stop getting people continue to be engaged, and it's really hard to get them back out there after that.
Right. How long have you been doing this?
I've been with Volunteer Waterloo Region since 2022. I fortunately got my start as a public relations student placement from Conestoga College. So I worked my way. They said I was, okay to keep around. I did enough of good work for that. And, here I am talking.
Yeah. What sort of volunteer population does Volunteer Waterloo Region deal with?
So it's an interesting way to think about it. As a volunteer center, which is what we are as a charity, we don't just hold on to volunteers. That is not something that we can do or manage. If you think about it, when you have a business, you have an HR manager to manage all your employees, and the more employees you have, the more HR department you need.
Right.
I want you to think about the fact that there might be like 2,000 to 3,000 volunteers just in one small sector of Waterloo Region. Now, I want you to think about how many HR managers you would need for all of that.
Right.
As a Volunteer Waterloo Region, we are a small organization. We have essentially 5 staff. We cannot handle an entire region worth of volunteers.
So what happens then? How does it work?
Yeah, so as a center, we are actually, we're a good volunteerism hub. So volunteer centers are actually all the way through Canada. There's multiple in Ontario. We actually are part of what's called the Ontario Volunteer Center Network. But they are centers where organizations, nonprofits come to us saying, hey, we need help either with promotion, understanding what a volunteer role is, or maybe just really getting into the thick of how volunteerism is changing or adapting within the region, in the province, in the country. And they come to us for that kind of knowledge and expertise. That's why I have these kind of stats.
Okay.
That's why I have this kind of knowledge base.
And these are the organizations coming to you,
Yeah.
looking for people to volunteer for them.
Yeah, so that's the, we'll say, less public-facing side. Whereas the
Okay.
public-facing side, you could literally look us up online and you'll find a bunch of positions posted on our website. You're maybe looking to volunteer to help out with children learning to read. Maybe you're looking to support one of the many food programs, like with the Stanley Park Community Association.
Right.
Maybe you're looking to just get involved in some way that you never thought that was a way to get involved. Trimming nails for pets, or maybe just going out and spending time with somebody with a disability, or maybe teaching somebody how to play basketball who's a newcomer refugee coming to the area. Like, that is a very public-facing side.
Yeah, yeah. That's a huge variety of different things to do. Is it? I mean, where does it end? How big is this scope of volunteer activity?
The volunteer activity is just a massive scope. I mean, there's no good way to say that how much volunteers do and how much we rely on volunteers here in the region. The smallest gesture that you do in the community and the biggest impact that you make isn't always something that's completely quantifiable. If you are somebody who just goes out and gives 10 minutes of your day to help somebody who's feeling lonely, that could be a bigger impact than somebody who's out there delivering food to a local food bank, because the people who are there are really making the impact for the people they're serving, but they're also making an impact on the community around them. So however you want to get involved is the important part, and the impact you make and the scope of what you're doing is based on the end product of how you feel in your community and how the community feels about you.
Right. How does somebody get into a role of say, reading to children, or you know, are there qualifications? Is there vetting of skills that you need to do to ensure that there's a good match between volunteer and agency?
Yeah, so the first part of that, I always love a quote from Martin Luther King Jr. I don't remember it off by heart, but I love it because he always says, anyone can volunteer, or anybody can step up to do something, because anybody can be great. And being able to be anybody is really what changes everything. Anybody can help out, whether or not you can recite the first law of thermodynamics, or whether or not you can make your subject and your verb agree. Doesn't matter, because you can always do something to help others. So if you just want to volunteer, you just need to be somebody who's kind and who's willing to help out. Now, for being able to match to your right role, this is where we have this unseen force of volunteer managers, which, on an aside, November 5th just passed by International Volunteer Manager Day. So if you didn't get a chance, thank a volunteer manager, you know, for all the great work that they do behind the scenes. But the volunteer manager is there as kind of the guide, the person you're contacting with, the person that makes you feel appreciated, and the person who's scheduling you in for your roles, making sure you're comfortable, making sure you feel like you're able to kind of get involved and complete the task that you're assigned to. So it makes it so the only thing you really need to do is to apply, and then they help you, walk you through it, whether or not you feel like you're a good fit, whether or not you feel like you're able to commit to something like this.
But no formal assessment is taking place, you know, no tests.
There are some places that are going to need higher skills. A good example is with CJI, Community Justice Initiatives. They have what's called the STRIDE program. They take in all kinds of people, but in lieu of doing this crazy assessment for their STRIDE program, where they literally go into the GVI, Grand Valley Institute, they will take you through essentially a 3-week training course. They will make sure you have those skills while you're going in. So you don't need to come in with the amazing conflict facilitation, I know how to stop a fight when it happens. They take you through the process of, this is what to do in case of an emergency, or this is what you do when maybe somebody is acting up. This is how to make sure you maintain those boundaries and keep yourself safe.
Right. And when people come to you to do the volunteering, they may have a preconceived idea of what it is they want to do. Is there a glut of volunteers in one area and a scarcity in others?
So I can give this to you in 2 different ways. The first way is a lot of people, when they come in and they say, I want to volunteer, the first two things they mention is the food bank or volunteer with animals. That is their preconceived notion. Or maybe they want to serve food at a soup kitchen. Like, those are the three preconceived notions. Everybody who is, we'll say, from, I don't want to age or date you, but like your generation, that's a very common preconceived notion. I want to come in, I want to help out the food bank, I want to serve a soup kitchen, I want to help with animals. And then the other way to go for it is, right now what we're noticing is we call it surge volunteering, or just people who want to volunteer for a specific cause that popped up. So say recently there was the 2S LGBTQ community that had some threats made against them. There was a bunch of people who then signed up, started talking to Spectrum Waterloo Region, they're the community rainbow space. We got some messages saying, how can we help with safety in the community? Like, people want to do that. So when there's a cause or an instant or something that people feel passionate about or really want to get involved with, that is when we get this kind of glut towards that.
Right.
Not to say that that's entirely a bad thing. It's good to inspire people to action, but it's about figuring out how to best use those talents, if that kind of makes sense.
Right. How about the scarcity end of things? Do you find that there are volunteer roles that you can't fill?
Yeah, so there's definitely some roles that are harder to recruit for. One of them is going to be the high skills volunteering. So you mentioned before, like, there's no test to get into anything, and I confirmed that there's no test. But occasionally you need somebody who's very high skilled for something. I mean, you have a good amount of broadcasting and technology experience, so you're a high skilled volunteer. But it's hard to find people like you. I hope that strokes your ego a little bit.
Well, but it's kind of a niche thing.
Exactly.
Not everybody needs somebody with broadcast experience.
Precisely.
It's generally not a volunteer position.
Exactly. But there are people who are looking for stuff to run great things like community radio stations. There's people who are looking for legal expertise to help with boards of directors. There's people who are looking for tech expertise. Somebody's trying to set up a Salesforce campaign for Reception House. They help with newcomers. They're looking for somebody with Salesforce and programming experience. That's very niche, but they're looking for somebody to help set up something for newcomers so that they can get a little bit more understanding of employment skills and moving forward. So that's going to be one of the hardest ones to recruit for. And the second thing that's hard to recruit for is volunteer drivers.
Really?
Nobody has the time and the vehicle right now because, as I was talking about before, the older population's aging out. They were the people that had a vehicle, they had time. They're now the people who need those services. So if you can't fill in those gaps, it's really hard to recruit for that now.
I find myself in that situation too. I got a car, but my wife uses that to get to work, so I usually take my bike in or the bus.
Exactly. So if anybody out there is looking to be a volunteer driver or wants to help either deliver meals, help people get to appointments, please do. There's Community Support Connections, City of Waterloo, City of Cambridge, Family Children's Services. There's a very long list of people who need the support for that.
This is a good spot for you to announce how people can get involved. How do people who want to volunteer join up?
The easiest way, heading over to our website, volunteerwr.ca. You can start off going there. You can click on the I Want to Volunteer button, bright in yellow. You'll start working your way over, and then you can start looking through positions. You can find out why volunteerism is important and really just start getting engaged with your community. We have, I know, about 164 different positions that are available right now. There's a lot that you could be doing in your community, and regardless of your age, your ability, or really what you're looking for, this is the place where you can start your volunteering journey.
Okay. And that's the website?
volunteerwr.ca.
Okay. Mention that a few more times during the show, and I'll have it in the show notes as well.
Absolutely.
Show notes are going to be at radiowaterloo.ca/ccc. What about the other way around? Organizations who need the help in volunteering.
So if an organization wants to connect with us, I'm just making sure I can clarify the what you're asking.
Yes, that's it.
Yeah. Obviously, you can also go to our website. There's a fun community organizations tab on our website, and that'll get you in contact with either myself or one of my amazing colleagues who help with connecting organizations, understanding what the benefits of membership with Volunteer Waterloo Region is, and how we can really support you in either your look to grow your volunteer force, understand what volunteer management is. A lot of people still figuring out what that means, or just understanding how to better connect to your community and what the volunteer needs are in the community right now.
Right. So having given the website, do you have other social media presences as well?
Yeah, absolutely. We currently have our Facebook page. Volunteer Waterloo Region. We have our Instagram mostly dedicated to youth content, but we also do a lot of shout outs on there. That's Youth Volunteer WR. And then we have our Blue Sky, Volunteer Waterloo Region.bsky.social, and then our LinkedIn Volunteer Waterloo Region. You can check that out for some of the higher level stuff, a lot of updates on what's happening in the community, some updates from our blog about some cool stuff that's happening, and whenever a major report's written about something happening in volunteerism, you can always check it out there as well.
Okay. A little curious about the demographics there. You said that Instagram is mostly for the youth.
Yeah, so the way we've set up our social media channels is we like to have our Instagram set up as more of a youth. It's a lot more visual media oriented, a lot more pop in, like the page, see what's going on, and then pop out. That just happens to be how we've set up our social media, because we know that if you want to connect with something, you want something that's quick and easy, and Instagram offers that. It's you get an image, you tap the like button. If you like it some more, you can maybe read into it, click on the person's profile, connect to the links, and go.
Okay. So we're going to take a little break. I want to come back and ask you about you and how you got into all of this. I want to play something. Let's see, what's up on the called Wildcard. More KW content. We'll fire up the Libertime slide and then play some music.
I can hear you laughing in the distance. What are you about to say, darling? Just kidding, I think I can predict it. We've had so much fun, you should have a taste. While you're still so young and I'm still the same. Oh, how you talk to me when we are all alone. We've got some chemistry until I'm all alone. No, you can't talk to me, 'cause I go too damn far. You pull me in too deep, and I'm a wild card. And I'm a wild card. I can see you lighting up the crowd. I can feel you becoming addicted. How am I supposed to stop now? I feel like I'm only getting started. When you say hello and I love the sound, I can't say no, but I have to now. Oh, how you talk to me when we are all alone. We've got some chemistry until I'm all alone. No, you can't talk to me, 'cause I go too damn far. You pull me in too deep, and I'm a wild card. And I'm a wild card. I hate that I love how you make me feel. You take and you run and it's never real. I hate who I become, can we make a deal? We break what we've done and I heal. Oh, how you talk to me when we are all alone. We've got some chemistry until I'm all alone. No, you can't talk to me, 'cause I go too damn far. You pull me in too deep, and I'm a wild card. I'm a wild card. And I'm a wild card. I'm a wild card.
Courtney Wolf, local musician, new song called Wildcard. In the studio with me is Cameron Ty, not from the Volunteer Bureau, but from Volunteer Waterloo Region. You were telling me about the branding.
Yeah, so Volunteer Waterloo Region, many people know it as a Volunteer Action Center, or VAC. We still get a lot of our old members. We've been around for 40 years, but we still got a lot of our old members who just say, oh, I know the people over at VAC, and we're like, that's not our name anymore, but we're working on working with that. But yeah, back 2021, we changed our brand to Volunteer Waterloo Region to really represent the fact that we are here to help out the entire region: Kitchener, Waterloo, Cambridge, Wilmot, Wolseley, Woolwich, and North Dumfries. Like, we want to make sure that people know that we support all of that. So in my role as the communications specialist, I'm in there making sure that our new image, our new brand is always out there, always making sure to say Volunteer Waterloo Region, not Volunteer Action Center, even though that's what so many people know us as, but just making sure that you get the understanding of who we are and who we serve as a charity. So
Right. You said something earlier about there being a whole network of volunteer organizations across the province.
yeah, so once again, we are a volunteer center. So there's a whole network across the province, and there's a bunch of other volunteer centers across all of Canada. So the Ontario Volunteer Center Network, OVCN, we love our acronyms, but OVCN is just a connection of a bunch of these centers across Ontario: Volunteer Toronto, Volunteer Ottawa, Volunteer Halton, Volunteer MBC. I'm gonna have to keep saying volunteer over and over again, but just
Yeah.
a lot along the peninsula here, the Ontario Peninsula, and a couple in the Northern Territories and in Thunder Bay. Just these are places where they felt like there has been a need. A volunteer center always starts up from a request from the community, a need from the organization saying, we want this central resource to be able to support us.
Right.
And that's how we really get out there. That's why we're very driven to support all of our members. That's why we're really driven to be able to support their causes and get the information out there.
I'm not sure of the purpose of the network, though, because as a volunteer here in Waterloo Region, I'm not sure they want to travel out to Toronto to do any volunteering there.
The network is more about keeping each other connected. When you notice a trend anywhere in Ontario and Canada, you want to be able to share that. We know that we don't have the most experience that anybody's going to have. We are not going to be the amazing, we understand the metropolitan area like the Volunteer Toronto. They have almost all metropolitan area. They are all urban area. If we want to learn more about how to engage the urban youth, how to engage the urban newcomers, we can go to them, ask for assistance, ask for a little bit of understanding, even ask them to see if we can borrow a staff for some training, just to offer some volunteer managers the ability to gain that kind of experience. Whereas if we were looking into some of the rural communities, if we're looking into some of the other places, we have so many other people within the Ontario Volunteer Center network that's so reliable for getting that information out, for understanding how to connect to different people in different ways. We can share our expertise to grow Ontario and grow the entire network as just a whole, because we know that the better volunteering is across Ontario, the better we can make it here as well.
Right. When an organization joins up with the Volunteer Waterloo Region, is there a cost to them to make use of the services?
Yeah, we do have a membership fee. That's part of how we operate. It's mostly because we need to make sure that we can sustain ourselves. I mean, even with just 5 staff, we still have an entire website to maintain. We still have staff time we put in to help with inquiries. We still have staff time to put in to make sure that if you're an organization, you're able to support it. So there is a fee to join in. We renew annually in end of March. Had to stop for a second to remember. But renew annually, it's $250, but it's essentially all-inclusive. You have access to all of our services. You're able to feel supported in what you're doing in your community, and you have access to the expertise that we have and the expertise that our networks have.
Okay. $250 might be a bit steep for a lot of the shoestring operations that need the volunteers.
Yeah, absolutely. So the way to think about it, and the reason for the $250 is, one, we are also kind of a shoestring operation.
Yeah.
We do as much as we can with as little as possible. That is the motto of every single operation I've ever talked to, every single charity, nonprofit that we've ever talked to. It is a steep price, and we definitely understand that. We have different ways that we're looking into the future to see how we can adjust based on either organization size or what's out there, but still figuring out what that looks like. But the main thing that we want to make sure is that when you pay for the membership with us, it is to make sure that you're getting your money's worth every time. When we talk to people like the Literacy Group, when we talk to people like Rhythm and Blues Cambridge, when we talk to people like Habitat for Humanity, the Food Bank Waterloo Region, all of these big and small organizations, they always say that it's beyond worth it for what we're getting. The $250 is just a nominal fee for getting all the support and guidance that we can offer and how we can make it happen. But we also understand that there's some organizations that just, it's not going to work for them. But we do offer additional promotion through our newsletters. We'll give you a shout out in different ways just to make sure it's out there. It's not like we're cutting you off completely, but some of our services have to be locked behind the paywall. That's how we maintain sustainability and relevance.
Understood. I'll send your organizations our way as one of the services that you can offer, and we'll be glad to have interviews with them, put them on the radio, run public service announcements.
You know what? That's a great way to do it, because we always love to leverage our networks. We sometimes just get organizations who are just setting themselves up, and they're like, I'm starting up a multicultural organization. We don't really have a budget yet, but we're looking to do this, this, and this service. I'm like, oh, have you talked to this person at this place? Have you talked to this person at this place? Oh, maybe you could get ideas from these people, maybe piggyback off of their next event. So we're very good at really making those connections within the community, because we do have, last time we checked, we have about 132 members within the community. And if you look at our past connections, we have over 280 different nonprofits and charities we've worked with over the years. So we do have a lot of connections that we just, if you're looking to get out there, get connected with somebody else, you can probably tap on our shoulders and we probably know somebody.
Just to be clear, that $250 fee is only for the organizations that subscribe to your services.
Yeah.
It's not for the people who are doing the volunteering.
No, the people who are doing the volunteering, free access. We don't want to put that barrier to the volunteers, because you're already freely giving your time. This is what it is. You should be able to access volunteering and be able to get out there. We want to make it so that volunteering is as low barrier to entry as possible, because we've already seen the barriers of cost of affordability, being able to use your time properly, and just deciding on what's going on there. So the lower the barrier entry to volunteering we can make, the better it is.
Right. So a volunteer has come to you, said, I want to be placed, I want to look after pets, I want to do work at the food bank. You've sent them on their on a mission to volunteer at say, the literacy group.
Yeah.
Teach people how to read, perhaps, how to do their financial statements.
Mm-hmm.
What happens then? Is that volunteer done with Volunteer Waterloo Region forever?
I mean, they're done with it as so far that they found their volunteer role. One thing that we really appreciate right now that we're seeing more and more often is there's people who they finally found their freedom of time, and it kind of relates to what I was talking about with the donors. But we found people who found something that's very meaningful to them, and they say, I want to volunteer somewhere else. Where else can you send me? Where else can I go and do more of the good work? Okay. And those people come back to us. But some people, they find their perfect volunteer role, they find their fit, and that is very rewarding for us. If we know that a volunteer has come to us and say they started volunteering with the Grand River Film Festival because they loved it so much, they can't do like full year commitment, but they love every time they get to show up at a film festival, do the ticketing, check out the cool new local film that came out, and be able to share that experience with other people. If that's what they're satisfied with, that is us having done a great job to the community.
Right, and the community has benefited from the work that you've provided to place those volunteers.
Exactly. So that is, if you look way back in our history, the first name of the volunteer center was Volunteer Placement Services of Kitchener.
Really? So you've gone through a number of name changes then?
We have been around for 40 years. Volunteer Placement Services, Volunteer Center, Volunteer Action Center of Kitchener-Waterloo, Volunteer Action Center of Kitchener-Waterloo area, Volunteer Action Center of Waterloo Region, and now Volunteer Waterloo Region.
Okay.
So a couple name changes along the way, but our mission has remained strong, just making sure that volunteers are able to connect to stuff that's meaningful, and organizations are able to find volunteers who really appreciate what they're doing and get involved in a meaningful way.
So you're the communications director. Aside from talking to me on the radio, what's the role of a communications director at a volunteer agency?
That's it, just talking to you on the radio. That's all I do. No, as the communications specialist with Volunteer Waterloo Region, I am the person who gives the okay among anything that we put out. Obviously, as a small team, I have a little bit more freedom, so not like in larger organizations like the YMCA of Three Rivers, where I would have to go up 6 levels and down 6 levels before I could get anything out, because they are very structured in what they do. We have a small team. I get approval for something, and then I go out and do it. Most commonly, I'm usually always putting out a video around National Volunteer Week. You can check out some of the past stuff. I get to go out and talk to some amazing volunteers in the community, doing stuff from helping out a reception house with children to just growing worms to teach kids about what it's like to live the compost cycle. That was a great one I got to do last year. But so many different volunteers doing so many amazing things. That is part of what I get to do, but being able to tell those stories and be able to get the word out there about what volunteering is. It's beyond that. I want to go give food at a food bank. It's I want to be a part of my community, and I want to give back in some way that's meaningful.
Right. You're saying something about keeping track of stats as well. Is that part of the function that you perform?
So never officially part of the stats I perform, but when you only have 5 staff and one of your staff actually likes looking at stats frequently, they end up having the role of keeping track of stats.
Okay.
So
I thought this might roll into the communications part of it. but
it
you're-
absolutely does. So like when you're doing communications, data storytelling has become, we'll say, the hot topic, the buzzword of the communication sector in the nonprofit field.
Haven't heard that yet. Data storytelling.
Data storytelling. So when you have some data coming from anywhere, people don't like looking at a spreadsheet of ugly numbers or just looking at a spreadsheet of numbers overall. They will fall asleep. But if you can start taking that data and start weaving it into a story, make people understand why it's important. If I just tell you that there was 36,000 people who went in and were searching for caring and support roles within the community, that doesn't tell you anything. But if I tell you that the people looking for caring and support have spiked 20% over the past year, but the number of roles that have spiked for caring and support have spiked 80%. I can tell you that there's such a gap in the number of people who are looking for that help, but also there's a huge gap in the number of people who need that help. So being able to make that data into something relevant, into something impactful, that's data storytelling, and that's something that's really becoming a topic right now.
And needs a communication professional to be able to relate that to the people that need to know that information.
Exactly. If you can check out the Vital Signs report from the Waterloo Region Community Foundation, put together by Rochelle over there, definitely check it out. It's really good data storytelling about what the needs in our community are and how we're trying to address them, but also some of the shortcomings that we're coming up against.
Does that specifically address the volunteer area of Waterloo Region?
If we have a section in there for volunteerism,
Okay.
but it looks at a lot of the different aspects of what's going on here in the region, and it's the Vital Signs report. I would definitely recommend checking it out. It really gives you kind of this capturing image of how we are supporting community and what we need to do to support our community here.
Okay, we'll get a link from you and put that into the show notes as well.
Absolutely.
Okay. You've been with the organization for what, 5 years? 3 years?
3 years.
3 years.
It feels like 4 because like I've started projects in 2022 and now it's the 4th time I'm running it. So it's like, I guess that makes sense.
How's the role developed since you've been there?
The role was definitely very interesting. When I came in, we had a youth engagement coordinator who was also doing communications, and we had a community engagement manager who was also doing communications, and we had our executive director who was also doing communications. So I essentially was just like, how about I just slide some of this off your plate and you can focus on doing better in your roles. That has really helped in the growth of everything. But as a small organization does, our staff changes, stuff changes over, and I've had to pick up stuff from other roles and other things going forward. So my role is for communications. I've had to become very efficient at doing communications so that I have room on my plate for doing more things.
Right.
As it always is in the nonprofit sector, you kind of have to make sure that you can leave room for making sure that more than just your role is available there, but you're able to support every other aspect of what your mission and your vision is.
Yeah. You said something about doing some of the events like National Volunteer Week. What other sort of events does the Volunteer Waterloo Region put on?
So National Volunteer Week is mostly just a celebration. So we don't have as much of a budget for doing events as we used to. Before my time there, 2016, 2017, and all the way back to, I want to say 2013, we had the Volunteer Impact Awards, the VIAs. We had a big ceremony held either at Kitchener City Hall, the Pavilion in Victoria Park, and a couple other places around, and we would really just recognize some of the really important volunteers that were out there. That was back when we had a budget for events, and that was back when we had donors for budgets for events.
Right.
Unfortunately, we don't have budgets for events or donors for budgets for events.
Right. So, no, not as many events as there used to be, but National Volunteer Week is what? That was November the 5th event?
No, November the 5th was International Volunteer Managers Day.
Okay.
And what we usually do with that, one, we tell everybody, thank a volunteer manager. They do so much. They're hiding behind the walls of making sure everything runs, and sometimes it's thankless work. Sometimes all you see is like a little bit of what the outcome is, but you never really get to see what's happening. So that was November 5th, but we held a
Having missed that, they'll have to wait another 51 weeks before we can thank them again.
no, please thank them every time you see them. Say thank you for letting me have my role at work. But yeah, no, that was International Volunteer Managers Day. There's
And
also
National Volunteer Week is when?
National Volunteer Week is usually in April. You'll have to talk to Volunteer Canada. They are usually the people who decide on it. Usually related around when it's happening in the States, but not always. And then we also have International Volunteer Day, which is happening on December 5th. We typically have what we call Our Community Cares. In the past, once again, we had more of a budget, so we're actually able to give out thank you packages and stuff. We worked with our members to distribute them to some of their great volunteers that were out there. Don't have as much of a budget this year, so we're figuring out what it looks like, but at the very least, we have some letters from the mayors and dignitaries around to really thank the volunteers and get the word out there. And something that's important, 2026, International Year of the Volunteer.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Tell me about that.
Decided by the UN and dropped on us at the start of this year, and we've been scrambling ever since. That's mostly because I'm in the communications role, but yeah, figuring out what we want to do for that. There's a lot of amazing things that we always want to celebrate. The last time it was International Year of the Volunteer. There's a mural downtown from it. It says the value of one, the power of many, over on Charles and
Charles and Queen.
Thank you. Right there. That was the last time 25 years ago.
Oh, it's been up there forever.
Exactly. So now I don't think we're doing another mural.
Okay.
I don't think we're doing another mural, mostly because it's going to take a lot of effort to do a mural. But we are going to be seeing what we can put together to really thank and appreciate volunteers. We're going to be putting together some proposals to both the cities and the region, see if they want to really get out there, really thank everybody who's committing so much time and effort to everybody who's making sure the city runs well. I mean, making sure the region is able to keep supporting the people that really need it the most. So going to be having a lot of conversations with them, seeing if they want to help us really thank all the volunteers of Waterloo Region.
I expect we'll be hearing a lot more about that.
I really hope you are able to hear a lot more of that, because there's also the Ontario Summer Games coming in end of July 2026, yeah.
And there'll be volunteers needed for that.
Yeah, it's expected to probably need around at least 1,200 volunteers just to make sure that the games go off smoothly. So if the cities want to say thank you to the volunteers who are doing that as well.
Right. Just something with the volunteer managers. I don't know what a volunteer manager necessarily does. So we're a volunteer organization here at Radio Waterloo.
Yep.
We don't have a volunteer manager. Should we have one?
There's actually a really cool study by the Canadian Insights Charity Project. They're one of the few people who have gotten funding to research charities and nonprofits here across Canada, running out of the University of Carleton. One of the things that they reported is they looked at how they were doing with recruitment of volunteers and recovery of volunteers post-pandemic. And the most common answer that they had is we were able to keep on our volunteer manager and our volunteer force research. It's basically your volunteer managers are there not just as your people to run schedules, not just as your people to make it so that you can recruit volunteers. They're the people who are there to keep your volunteers engaged, give them updates, make them feel appreciated. They are the people who are running around behind the scenes once again. You have a volunteer force, and if you have something that needs to be coordinated well, you could have 50 people show up to a build, but if everybody wants to pick up a hammer and put up a beam, you don't have anybody to getting ready to fasten the foundation, make sure everything's ready to go. So the volunteer managers are making sure that you have these team leaders, these tasks outlined properly, the volunteer roles set up so that everybody's able to fulfill in a meaningful way what they set out to do.
Right. Is that the kind of knowledge that you pass out as an organization being a member of Volunteer Waterloo Region?
Yeah, that's one of the key focuses that we want to do. One thing that we've focused on recently is we've provided a lot of additional training and information sessions to volunteer managers, to organizations who are looking to get volunteer managers, to volunteer managers who have just started and they're now panicking saying, oh my goodness, I was just handed a profile with 300 people, what do I do? So they come to us and we say, deep breath, here are some of the basics, here's what you need to look at, here's how you can kind of work towards really supporting the volunteers that you're managing, but also working with the people that you have there.
Right. I want to turn to the dark side of volunteering for a second.
Absolutely.
aren't all these volunteers putting people out of work?
That is always a funny way to put it. That is an argument that always comes up, especially within nonprofit organizations. There's always this balance between the employees who have the high skills, who have gone to all of these schools to get the training, but then want to give back to the community, but also the volunteers who are there giving time out of their own kindness and really supporting that. And part of it is they're not actually, they shouldn't be taking people out of work. When you have a volunteer role, it's because there's something that can be done by a volunteer. A volunteer role should never read like a full-time job description. It should never seem like it's taking up the role of somebody who has a high skills, something that they want to give full time to. It should always read as, this is something that supports our mission, this is something that can support our staff, and this is something that makes it so that our impact is just that much better. It should never read as, I want to get rid of all these staff and replace them with volunteers, because when you think about it, it takes about 10-ish volunteers to replace one staff. And
Really?
yeah, it takes about 10 volunteers to replace one staff. And if you can consistently find 10 volunteers to replace your staff of 30 people, good job for you. I don't know how you're doing it. It's really impressive, but you also, should probably be not necessarily doing that. Okay. It's a lot of effort to have somebody who is trained up and ready to do this staff work, but it's also a lot of effort to maintain what these volunteers are doing and making sure that they're doing something that they contribute in a way that's meaningful, but also is within their time. Because remember, volunteering isn't just going out and completing a task. It's doing something that's fulfilling to you and something that's fulfilling to the organization. If either of those sides don't line up, then the volunteer isn't going to stay. They're not going to contribute. They're not going to feel like this is what's worth their time.
I suppose, too, that from the organization's perspective, there's a much higher volunteer turnover than there would be a staff turnover. So you're constantly in training mode and in teaching and putting up with the results that might not be as professional as you would expect from full-time staff members.
Yeah, exactly. Welcome to the 3 R's of volunteer management: recognition, recruitment, and retention. So the retention aspect is always intense, because when you have an HR manager, and there's a lot of people who come with an HR background and walk into volunteer management thinking they can do everything. Whereas when you're an HR manager, you have this paycheck at the end of the day where you can say, right, you've done a good performance, here's some money. If you do better, I'll give you a raise and more money and all this. When a volunteer walks into it, you have to figure out why they started volunteering. Are they here because they're building a skill set? Are they here because they absolutely love what your organization does? Are they here because they want to work with a specific aspect of your organization? The moment that you don't fulfill that need that they have, that want to give back to the community, that want to be able to improve upon themselves or the place around them, this is the moment when you lose the volunteer. And there's no paycheck, there's no money at the end of it that you can say, if you do a little bit better, if you come back in, I can give you this. That's not something you can do. So you really have to pay attention to the needs of what the volunteer is.
Right. Do you see it the other way around, where volunteers become staff at the organizations where they've been volunteering?
Yeah, that's actually one of the interesting things. We never tout volunteerism as like a direct path to employment, because it builds employment skills. You learn a lot of important networking. You learn a lot of key skills for promoting yourself, being able to do some of the work if it's at all possible, and all of these really cool things that are the soft skills that you would develop. But it's never going to be like, if I start volunteering here, they'll eventually give me a job. That
should not be the expectation ever.
That should never be the expectation, but it does happen. There's one wonderful person that I actually got to interview one year as a volunteer with the Multicultural Center here. Mm-hmm. They were essentially an office volunteer. They gave their time to just do a little bit of everything, and I can now say that they are officially a settlement and immigration worker with the Multicultural Center. Uh-huh. So they did take that pathway, but it's because of their dedication, their want to help others, and their willingness to really engage in the community in that way, that was able to lead them to there. I can't say that everything happens that way, but it's an opportunity that's always out there.
Fairly rare, then.
It's fairly rare, but if you keep the door open, if you keep your options open, and if you understand what's happening, you never know.
I guess I'm one of the lucky few then, because I have been in a situation where I volunteered,
yep.
Doing library audiovisual work, and
yep.
then got hired as a library technician. So.
Yep. Well, congratulations. It's a rare talent, but it also shows that your dedication to the cause and your capabilities were recognized. So, I mean, great job for everything that you've done, and thank you for being back on the volunteering side. But congratulations on taking your volunteer role to the next step with that.
Same sort of work, technical work at the radio station today.
Yep.
So, yeah. Coming up in the near future for Volunteer Waterloo Region, what's on the books, on the calendar for?
Well, once again, December 5th, International Volunteer Day. Look towards us for that. You'll see some cool stuff on social media. If you're part of an organization, you can potentially get some letters from the mayors to send out to your volunteers just as a thank you. Coming up in 2026, we're going to have a hand in helping out with the Ontario Summer Games coming to Kitchener. So check us out there. And then also in 2026, it is International Year of the Volunteer. So we've got a lot of that. Beyond that, we have a bunch of side projects for supporting many different organizations. They essentially hire us for some consulting and some support for their volunteer programs. How do we improve it? Where are the gaps? What can we do to make this work better? How do we improve retention? Does this actually work as a volunteer role for this program? Is it better at this point to either change it to an actual paid staff, because once again, the paid staff is worth 10 volunteers, or is it better to have those 30 volunteers because the paid staff don't have the same connection to the community, don't have the same drive. Right. So people come to us with those consultations. They just happen all the time. I can't tell you which ones we are working on at the moment, mostly because there's so many in my head at the moment that I can't keep them straight. But we are doing a lot of stuff in the community, just not necessarily out front, but in behind the scenes, just making everything work out.
Are there volunteers at Volunteer Waterloo Region?
We do have volunteers at Volunteer Waterloo Region. One thing that we are actually doing right now is we have a wonderful youth program that's intergenerational. So intergenerational is becoming a hot topic word because we know that there's a disconnect in community. We just happen to know that it's harder to get youth and older adults to intermingle. It's harder to get parents and their children and older adults to intermingle. So we actually run, we call it volunteering through community involvement. So it's a very low commitment style board games and mingle. You show up, you essentially sit down, have a discussion around an important topic. Last week was all about building your confidence, being able to present yourself in front of others, and then sit down, play board games, build a community, and enjoy the community space there. So offering the opportunity for youth volunteers and older adult volunteers to come together. But beyond that, we have our board of directors. With every organization, your board of directors is fully volunteers. And then we have one or two office volunteers that just come in and help with occasional paperwork, occasional filing, and just making our office operations run a little bit smoother because we have a lot of work on few people's shoulders.
Right. So what is the structure then of Volunteer Waterloo Region? Board of directors, you said, and some paid staff?
Yeah, so as a registered charity, we have to have a board of directors. So we have our board of directors that essentially is giving us a lot of guidance as to where we should be going with our mission, whether we're keeping to our mission, how we are able to improve upon our mission. So we have people from a bunch of different backgrounds, just community members who are invested in volunteerism, stuff from tech to being a lawyer to being programmers to just being community members, part of one of the universities or colleges here. So they all just give us advice as to whether or not we're doing things right, if we could be doing things better. And they are really kind of like this amazing support network that is helping us keep on track for what we're doing. They're very oversight, very advisory. Then we have our operations, so we have our 5 staff. We have myself as communications person. We have our executive director. We have our corporate engagement person currently on vacation with their family. Well-deserved because they were putting in way too much work, but well-deserved, currently on vacation with their family. We have community engagement and training. She's just somebody who's been in the sector for a very long time. Really good with volunteer management, volunteer training, screening checklists, everything that you need to do. And then we just brought on one more office support staff just as a part-time thing to be able to help out with a lot of stuff that is just stacking up on us. So that is our 5 staff. And then we just have a couple office support volunteers who help us with occasional archiving, prepping our website for some upgrades that are coming down. And then, yeah, that is what Volunteer Waterloo Region looks like.
Okay. You got an office someplace then?
Yes, we have our office over at 1454 King Street East, over in Kitchener, right across from the Rockway Center.
Okay. But in general, people who want to volunteer shouldn't drop into the office there. They should probably contact you on the website.
The website will be the fastest way, but you're more than welcome to drop into the office. And remember to go to King Street East. I've had people go to King Street West saying, like, I'm right outside the hospital. That's not right.
Wrong side of the east-west divide there.
Precisely. So, yeah, if they want to come into the office, we always help out people who maybe need additional support. Maybe you're not the most tech-savvy person out there. You have trouble navigating the website.
Right.
Maybe you actually just want to talk to somebody face-to-face. We will sit down and chat with you during our office hours.
Okay. Want to go over that website again?
Yeah, so the website, volunteerwr.ca. You can always just visit there and, just check out what's happening in Waterloo Region.
Right. You've got a bunch of different sections on there. Section 4, community organizations. So if the community organizations who need the volunteers want to get in touch with you, there's that heading for that. And I suppose some of the upcoming events, if there are any to be had.
We will always try to make an announcement. Check out our social medias first, because that's where it's going to drop.
Okay.
You can always also check out our blog that's on our website. Not as utilized as it should be, but always has some cool topics from what is intergenerational volunteering to what the decline in volunteerism really looks like to just why do we do a website upgrade just this past year.
How does Waterloo Region stand compared to other regions for volunteerism? Are we at the top of the list, at the bottom of the list, somewhere in between?
I will tell you, I don't have the most recent data on this, but I can tell you traditionally throughout the past years, we've always been more engaged than most other places. I can tell you divided by area, the city of Waterloo tends to overperform. So they tend to overperform the most, but Kitchener and Cambridge, they tend to meet status quo. So Waterloo is pulling up a lot of the volunteerism stats here.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah. Can't necessarily tell you why, but they tend to be very involved up there.
Okay, how does it divide between urban and rural areas?
The rural areas is a little bit harder to always gauge in terms of volunteerism. One thing that we always have for understanding is this divide between what we call formal volunteerism and informal volunteerism.
Okay.
So we really deal with the formal volunteerism side. We have an organization that is looking to get a volunteer to perform a specific task and really help out. And then we have informal volunteerism where you talk to your neighbors, say, hey, it looks like you could use help shoveling, which hopefully we don't have to shovel after this. But maybe you could use help shoveling. And you sit down and you help them out with just a task like that.
Right.
So informal volunteerism, much more common in the rural communities because you need to rely on your neighbors a little bit more and stuff like that.
I hear the music playing. It means that our hour is over. Cameron, Ty, thank you so much for coming in, talking to us on CKMS Community Connections about Volunteer Waterloo Region.
Thank you very much for having me, and I love what you're doing here, and keep up the great work.
We will do our best to keep up our volunteer profile in Waterloo Region.
Sounds great.
You've been listening to CKMS Community Connections on CKMS FM, Radio Waterloo. CKMS Community Connections is sponsored by Radio Waterloo. Executive producer is Jennifer Strong. Technical production today was by Jacob Howard. Thank you, Jacob, for doing all this work. Thanks again to Cameron Ty from Volunteer Waterloo Region. CKMS Community Connections airs every Monday at 3 p.m., alternate Fridays at 3 p.m. Be back then.